So, I've been looking at this map. Our map. It looks like a map. The front cover of the Economist Magazine we've looked at numerous times. And, just trying to see if there's any kind of extra stuff that I missed, Let's see what that is. Hang on. So I'm like, okay, so if I'm thinking Chicago, for all the million reasons I've been saying all this, or a million times I've been giving you all these reasons of why I think the club's going to attack Chicago, blame it on a terrorist attack, or blame it on a terrorist, as in Islamic terrorist, is because, well, I already gave you the reasons. I'm not going to go into it now a million times. But I'm like, okay, so when I saw the Paris thing happen, I looked at the cover of the magazine again, and where that little board game is in the bottom left corner, and it says Federal Reserve, whatever, and then to the right it says CHI, which we all thought was China, because the Chinese panda bear's big tough guy sitting there right next to the board. His arm is actually covering part of the board. So everyone, including myself, thought, well, that's probably Federal Reserve and then China next to it. But someone emailed me yesterday and said, hey, what if that means Chicago? CHI, Chicago. I said, well, that's a possibility. And I noticed the way the board looks, the little board game, or the Plinko, whatever it is, almost half of it or so is covered by the Chinese panda bear's arm. So it makes kind of a shape, right? The board game, a different shape. I said, well, I wonder if Paris looks like this on a map. So I looked up Paris. Nope. Looked up France itself, the whole country. Doesn't take that shape. But after they emailed me yesterday, they said, well, what if it's not China? What if it's Chicago? I said, well, let me look at this again. So I started looking at it again, and I pulled up a map of Illinois, and then Chicago itself. And when I pulled up Chicago, matter of fact, both are kind of similar, but as far as the state and Chicago. But when I pulled up Chicago on just a map, like a Google map, and I just want to see the city only, in the outline of it, the border, it looks like if you take it and then completely flip it, like a 180, so that the bottom of the map's now at the top, it looks kind of similar to what's that board game is shown, because the Chinese panda bear arm is covering half the board. If you look at it and just go along his arm and then back around the board, it looks similar to Chicago, as if that was the state drawn out, or the city drawn out. Not exact, but close. So I thought that was interesting, for one thing. And then and I don't know if it was the same person or someone else emailed me and said, hey, the 50th Super Bowl is coming up, and in the bottom left corner there's like a drum set, and it says 50th on it. On the bass drum it says 50th. So I was like, yeah, okay. So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the Earth globe next to it to the right, that's kind of sitting on like a little pedestal thing, almost like it's a trophy. And the Earth is shaped like a football. So I said, oh. Right next to that, to the left, is the 50th drum set, and it's got a guitar smashing through the bass drum and destroying, like poking a big hole in the bass drum. So I'm not sure why that was there, but 50th is there. To the right of it, we have a football-shaped Earth on a little trophy stand-looking thing. So, again, the winners of the Super Bowl trophy. So I see that there, but I can't make anything of it. Just like at the very top of the page, there's a picture of one of those little remote-controlled drones from Amazon. It even says Amazon on it, carrying a delivery box. And nothing bad has happened, because again it said the world in 2015, but nothing bad has actually happened in relation to that drone Amazon thing remains to be seen as far as the Super Bowl goes. You know, they're going to wait for that to have some kind of attack at the Super Bowl. No, nobody knows yet until we actually see, until it happens. You know, the Super Bowl. So that remains to be seen. Now, I will say, if by chance, again, we got you know, less than a month and a half of the year left, but if you hear some kind of story about a drone carrying a package and there was a, you know, explosive or a bomb or something in there before the end of the year's out, I'm going to have to look at that Economist cover again and say, well, you know, they did show a drone with some kind of package on it, you know, trying to hint to us all, the elitists. Like Lindsey Williams said, they love, like they have to, show you what they're going to do to you in the beginning, or not in the beginning, their favorite thing is entertainment, media, and usually movies. They got to show you before they do it to you. This is what we're going to do to you guys. And this Economist cover is very, you know, cryptic. And as I mentioned the other day, those two arrows on the cover with the 11.3 and 11.5, if you just move the ones over, it becomes 11.13.15, which is exactly the day France got hit. In the background, also the top part, there's like some type of large missile launch from what appears to be the ocean, from the looks of it. And we also had that happen in real life just a couple weeks ago, when Obama decided to show, you know, flex our muscles off the coast of California and shut down the airport. No flights could come in because we got to do this really important missile test. As if we couldn't do that somewhere else, way far away from land. How stupid. But that's, you know, it's like it's on the cover of the magazine. And the magazine cover was done in, I think, January of 2015. And who owns that magazine and runs it? That would be the Rothschild family, the most powerful family on the face of the earth, allegedly. Rich and powerful. So when they put something out there like that, you know, it might be important to kind of look at. So anyways, I noticed this stuff on this, you know, the magazine, and then remember at the bottom of that game that says Federal Reserve and panic or whatever, and to the right it says Chai, as in we thought China, maybe it's Chicago, we don't know. The very bottom of the game, where the little thing goes in the slots, two slots are there that have some writing on them. One is blocked off, and it says SIS. So we all thought, well, maybe that's ISIS or crisis or, you know, something similar. We're not sure. And then to the right of that, it says green light, exclamation point. So it's like it's go time, green light. Crisis time, green light, right? But I noticed looking last night that there's they underlined the word for the SIS, whatever it ends up, whatever word it actually is. And if you look at the underline, you can see the full underline, like it's not cut off. So to me, that's telling me that the word is very short, like it's missing one letter, which would make more sense for ISIS rather than crisis. Because if it was crisis, the underline would have to go over a little further and be cut off by the thing in the picture anyways, which it's not. And when you underline words, you don't underline 4 out of the 5 words, you underline the whole word. Or letters, you know, you don't underline 4 out of the 5 letters, you underline the entire word. So I said, well, if it's SIS, I don't think it can be crisis down there. It might be ISIS. So, and if the CHI is not China and it's Chicago, then we have Chicago, ISIS, green light. Federal Reserve moved its operations out of New York to Chicago not that long ago. You don't say. So if that's the case, Federal Reserve is in Chicago. The name CHI, let's say, means Chicago. It's cut off. SIS is ISIS. And then green light is fully seen there. There's no questioning what that is. So, have we seen any increased threats against Chicago recently. Oh my God, yes we have. By whom? ISIS. Remember? They were just running around in four men in a white van, two of them yelling out, "We're ISIS and we're here to kill you." And people alerted police who were unable to capture them. Got away. That was just the other day. What else happened the other day, as I mentioned? Rahm Emanuel, the mayor, and Obama's right-hand man of Chicago, and the city council passed a resolution to allow refugees into Chicago and even become a sanctuary city. You don't say. And then just a couple days after this happens, we've got some men, Middle Eastern, in a white van saying, "We are ISIS and we are here to kill you." Now, last time I checked, if you were sneaking into a city and you snuck in through Syrian refugee access and you knew you weren't a refugee, last thing you'd be wanting to do is tell the whole damn country you're in, driving around a city that you were about ready to attack potentially, and say, "Hey, we're here to kill you, we're ISIS, hey, hello everybody." Wouldn't you want to be just a tiny bit more discreet? Yes. But if it's fake and it's propaganda by the CIA and the boys and the FBI, because they're always part of it too. Look at history, again, same thing over and over. They repeat the same things, they just do it a little differently. Same scripts, same type of activity, same kind of news, same kind of stories, to get you all scared. And then what else did the news article say? Oh, they're leaving. Many residents are temporarily moving out of the city. Is there any other city and or state in the entire continental U.S., even our territories, in which people are moving out temporarily in fear of an attack from ISIS? Actually, no, there's not. So old J. Snip Force thought on Chicago being that target way before any of this happened, because the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is there, and they need to get rid of that so that they don't have to show that they don't have the gold and silver they claim they do on paper. What better way to do it than to attack it with an ISIS militant group that actually probably isn't really going to do it. It's going to be the club again. They'll have cameras. Oh, there we look at Mohammed Huhahi Hashnunal came in, and here's a picture of side shot of him walking into this building with a backpack on, and just like the hijackers on 9/11. Oh, we saw Mahatma Atta coming in, and here's a. Okay, well, when was this photo even taken and what airport? Nobody knows. But that's how we knew it was him getting on this plane. Right. Because you thought to even look at that after you found his passport in pristine condition after the plane exploded into the World Trade Center, somehow survives him and his body, flies through the sky somehow, lands on the ground. After the building collapsed, they are not a citizen, but an FBI agent found it. Oh, that's how we know who did this. Oh, okay, good police work there, guys. You guys are excellent. It was a setup. They already had the ID. It was fake. They made it themselves, I'm sure, and said, "Oh, here it is." What did we hear in France? Oh, two of the terrorist suicide bombers, we found their passports, again, in just fine condition. And where do they point to? Syria, and I think the other one was Egypt. That's funny because the club overthrew Egypt's government a few years ago, right? Remember the 2011, the Arab Spring nonsense. Overthrew their government. You guys can now elect the government, have fun voting. Muslim Brotherhood versus their Egyptian guy. Muslim Brotherhood won, just like Lindsey Williams said in advance. They're going to give all those countries the Muslim Brotherhood. He won. Started changing. I'm taking out this guy. I'm taking out that guy. I'm taking out the military head guy. People said, "Oh, hell no." Grabbed his ass, overthrew them, killed 100 Muslim Brotherhood supporters, and put their people back in power. So we overthrew the overthrowers. I say we, the people. The people overthrew the overthrowers. Well, we don't recognize them as legitimate now all of a sudden. Well, why? You recognize the one before them, even when they were overthrowing the original guy. You saw that as okay, that they can overthrow him. But now that they are overthrowing the overthrowers, we don't. You guys shouldn't do that. You know, you had a democratic process. They voted. You guys voted, and he won 51 to 49% was the total. That's what the count was. Where have you ever heard those numbers before? As I always say. So we need to get back into Egypt and fix that. Strangely enough, one of the suicide bombers had a passport from Egypt. Huh. But now like Osama bin Laden, we're going to have to go over there. And the other one, Syria. Another place we need to go to. Huh. You don't say. That's how you know it's all nonsense. Not that people didn't die. Because these sicko bastards will go find these patsies, train them, convince them at a young age. You're going to be with 40 virgins when you do this. It's going to be great. Oh, great. You can take a child. If you take a child and program them at a young age, they'll grow up thinking this is normal, and what they're about to do when they get a little older is just great and everything else. So they go and do it. Why were they having exercises of the exact same thing happening in France when it happened? Just like 9/11, just like the 7/7 subway bombings, just like the Spain train bombing in 3/11, and just like the Oklahoma City bombing. Exercise, exercise, exercise. The feds are there. Top government officials, different feds are, federal government employees are there. And when I say feds, really I should be saying the FBI, but FBI is there. Other federal agencies are there. You got one guy looking at his phone who's a federal agent, FBI, while the bombs just went off and people are supposedly working on people and they're all bleeding, and he's just standing in the road pacing back and forth looking down at his phone. Looks over, sees a innocent pedestrian filming, and goes, oh shoot, you can see it on his face and his body language, oh shoot. Kind of looks off and backs up a little bit, and is back and forth in the video at the Boston bombing. One of these fake people who supposedly got hurt is pointing to his people who's helping wrap him up at the guy who doesn't belong there with that camera. He's not one of the approved cameramen, and it points at him, and then the other people, especially the FBI lady, who was later seen in her uniform, by the way, looks back like, oh shoot. Doesn't know what to do. She's kind of freaking out a little bit. This is not an approved cameraman and he's filming us. But again, if you're two FBI, especially the other one who's standing in the road watching his phone, don't tell me protocol is that, oh, after some bombs go off, just stand there, because more bombs might go off, but you're Superman, so don't worry about it. Just pace a few feet back and forth in the street and look at your phone. It's fine. Why was he looking at his phone? Probably because the ringleader or person directing that whole nonsense is telling everybody, maybe through text messages or some phone app, who knows, what's happening, what's going on. We're going to stage 2, now we're going to stage 3, everybody get ready. My opinion on that part. So it's all propaganda, it's all to trick you. Doesn't mean that they won't really attack a place like Chicago just like they did 9/11. They really did it. They really flew 2 planes into the buildings and crashed the buildings down to the ground, including a 3rd building, World Trade Center 7, that wasn't even hit by a plane, because investigative material into banker fraud was being stored there, which is now destroyed, and you'll never nab these guys because they destroyed the evidence. So before there becomes any new evidence in regards to the rigging of gold and silver prices, they need to get rid of something first this time. And that's the CME Group, Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Again, in my opinion, remains to be seen. But they don't have the gold and silver to back the paper claims. They are massively leveraged. Oh, at least 300 to 1 now. 300 paper to 1 physical 100-ounce bundle, if you will, of gold, which should back those. Each and every one of those should have its own 100-ounce gold. And it doesn't. And this is from their own numbers. And again, their own numbers have a disclaimer that say, we believe that the source of these numbers gave them to us and they're true. But if they're not, you can't hold us responsible. That disclaimer was added about 2 years ago or so. So even though the numbers show they're on fumes, makes you really wonder, are those numbers even way off? And are they really, really, really on, super duper fumes, if you will? So I'm gonna upload with this video right now at the end of my speech. I'm gonna kind of highlight the pieces of that Economist Magazine cover that I was just talking about, and the state city of Chicago, and I'll flip the map around just to kind of show you it's kind of similar. Not exact, but kind of similar, and that's enough for me to just be a little suspicious about it. So that's it for now. Take care.